food, gas, shelter. Some of these fuel categories are just almost off the charts here. You look at the trajectory, it doesn't feel like there's very much peaking.
Demand is going to be high, and the Biden administration has done nothing.
Because some of the modern weapons have the real potential of turning the tide of this battle. So there's no doubt that Putin will be trying to target those lines of communication, rail hubs, etc.
I'm very happy this is a federal holiday because, to be honest, I really didn't know anything about it, you know what I mean? And so I'm still learning, about my particular culture.
New video shows the massive Juneteenth party before the shooting began.
I've never seen this kind of lawlessness.
And things are going to get worse.
In the early days of the summer of 2022, the American right didn't have much to get excited about. Gas prices were sky high. Inflation was increasing. Billions of dollars were being sent to Ukraine, and Joe Biden was making a fool of himself. Oh, wait, he always does that. The high-profile mass shootings from earlier in the year didn't help either. In fact, they gave Congress an excuse to pass the biggest virtue signal bill in recent history. According to CBS News, the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act of 2022 enhances background checks for gun buyers under 21 years of age, provides billions of dollars for mental health services and to harden schools, and closes the so-called boyfriend loophole to prevent convicted domestic abusers from purchasing a firearm for 5 years. The plan also provides $750 million in grants to incentivize states to implement crisis intervention programs, clarifies the definition of a federally licensed firearms dealer, and creates criminal penalties for straw purchases and gun trafficking. Essentially, it's a big nothing burger which won't actually stop a single criminal, but it might just keep you from getting a good night's sleep when a SWAT team crashes in to kill your dog and strip you of your rights in accordance with bogus red flag laws, which that $750 million is intended to be used for. Make no mistake, every bill like this is a step toward a national gun registry and eventually confiscation, and they'll get it sooner or later. What added insult to injury were the 15 Republicans that joined Democrats to support the bill. Here they are. Imagine being this spineless. And speaking of spinelessness, most of these traitors have an A or an A+ rating from the NRA. No wonder they're going bankrupt. Bunch of dumb motherfucking bitches, sons of them from their you bastard sucker. And with the arrival of June came the insufferable British cigarette parades, the rainbow profile pics, more drag queen molestation hours, and of course, everyone's favorite, Juneteenth. Though I will say it was hilarious that it happened to fall on Father's Day. All in all, it was a heaping dollop of cringe on a pie. But little did we know that soon we'd have more than a few things to celebrate, all thanks to a
Ragtag group of unlikely heroes.
On Thursday, June 23rd, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down a 108-year-old New York law, which regulated who could and could not obtain a concealed carry permit. Justice Clarence Thomas wrote the following in his majority opinion. The constitutional right to bear arms in public for self-defense is not a second-class right, subject to an entirely different body of rules than the other Bill of Rights guarantees. We know of no other constitutional right that an individual may exercise only after demonstrating to government officers some special need. That is not how the First Amendment works when it comes to unpopular speech or the free exercise of religion. It is not how the Sixth Amendment works when it comes to a defendant's right to confront the witness against him. And it is not how the Second Amendment works when it comes to public carry for self-defense. This was stellar news. And what made it even better was the stream of hot takes and freakouts from the left on social media.
It has become necessary to dissolve the Supreme Court of the United States. Breaking, America's response to its recent mass shootings is to make it even easier for Americans to use guns.
People will die because of this. The SCOTUS is a disgrace, because God forbid we ask for proper cause requirements to own weapons.
The Supreme Court seems obsessed with wanting people to carry things. Hidden weapons, fetuses they don't want. Maybe they should just be managers at TGI Fridays or Applebee's.
That one really got me.
Thomas declares, the Second and 14th Amendments protect an individual's right to carry a handgun for self-defense outside the home. There is zero textual support for that. Example 9,999 why originalism is a scam.
I would like to point out to the Supreme Court justices that the only weapons at the time were muskets. I am prepared to go back to muskets.
Sometimes mass shooters wear robes and don't have a gun.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
In response to this backlash, Justice Thomas had this to say.
You gotta cock it, motherfucker.
It may not have been as big a win as the Rittenhouse verdict, but red-blooded Americans everywhere rejoiced. It was an outcome worth celebrating. But then, the court hit us with
another one.
The very next day, June 24th, the Supreme Court outdid themselves by officially releasing their decision to overturn the controversial 1973 ruling in Roe v. Wade, resulting in the transfer of regulatory powers over abortion from the federal government to the states, where they belonged in the first place. As Justice Samuel Alito wrote in his majority opinion, Roe was egregiously wrong from the start. Its reasoning was exceptionally weak, and the decision has had damaging consequences, and far from bringing about a national settlement of the abortion issue, Roe and Casey have inflamed debate and deepened division. I'd also add that they led to the killing of millions of babies, so yeah, that's another reason to overturn it. To give you a little backstory here, the original Roe decision relied heavily on the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment, which the court argued should guarantee a woman's right to privacy, and that in turn should protect her right to have an abortion. And since Norma McCorvey, aka Jane Roe, lived in Texas, where abortion was illegal under non-life-threatening circumstances, the state was accused of violating the constitutional rights which are all, in theory, equally protected under the law. Anyway, it's an admittedly complex issue, so I encourage everyone to go read the original decision and this newest one for yourself. But as far as this recent decision goes, it brought about two great things. One, an end to the federal government having anything to do with abortion. And two, the hilarious displays of demonic rage from the left at not being able to kill human beings in the womb. It's safe to say, hoes mad. Let's take a look at some of the footage, shall we?
All of these potential lives that you're supposed to be saving, what about us?
Answer the question! Journalist, ask them the question! I don't care what the Bible says.
Yeah, boy.
Emotional damage! You want some therapy?
We won't do that. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with that. Then what's the plan? Brothers and sisters and
We're going to defy the Supreme Court and that decision.
Republicans have been working toward this day for decades. They have been out there plotting.
Cope and seethe.
Some midwits on the internet took a break from threatening a second civil war to point out that the Supreme Court cared more about guns than women. And even though this is just a really dumb argument all around, I'll take a minute to tell you why it's wrong. The Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution says, "The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed," and it literally says nothing about abortion. That means that the states and localities have power over certain issues not mentioned in the U.S. Constitution under the 10th Amendment. But nobody, not even states or localities, can violate your gun rights, since that fact is explicitly stated in the Second Amendment. Don't like it? Get Congress to pass the 28th Amendment to modify the Second. Otherwise, no laws to the contrary are valid. Clear enough for you?
All quite clear, no problem.
I wish I could say that this was the end of the battle. We blew up the Death Star, and we all get to ride off into the sunset or something. Many states will keep abortions legal, and places like California, New York, Washington, and Illinois won't stop taking the means of self-defense away from law-abiding citizens. But if we don't take a little time to cheer for these victories, no matter how small they are in the grand scheme, it will be all too easy for us to give up out of sheer despair and embrace defeat. And we just can't do that. We owe it to the next generation to keep fighting the good fight. So all you kings and queens out there, pat yourselves on the back, smoke 'em if you got 'em, and raise a glass to the U.S. Supreme Court for making this June the best Pride Month ever.
Ew, this is so cringe. Guilty.